Recently broken up with this guy. Well, he went ghost on me. Do you have any suggestions about ways to move on from people that leave all of a sudden? Let me offer you some words of wisdom, shall I? When people ghost you, it usually has very little to do with you. They remove themselves from your life, which was probably a blessing in disguise. And maybe I don't even want to know what's going on. This person engaged with you for the time that they did for whatever reason. But at this time, it's time for you to repair and heal. Whatever you're playing back in your head, I should have said this, I should have said that, you could have said all of it. And it probably would have still come out to the same situation. What's up, y'all? It's your girl, Dr. Nina, and today I'm coming at y'all as promised with a struggling with depression, anxiety, and mental illness Q&A and chit chat. And today I really want to keep on focusing on us changing, building, and growing in our mindsets and becoming more positive. I want to make sure that I give back to you guys in as many ways as I possibly can. And as you know, the new podcast will be coming soon. In fact, I saw the podcast cover today from my designers at Cheers Creative. I've actually recorded 2 episodes so far, so I can't wait to have you guys join in. Now that's life with Dr. Nina. I think it's going to be another way for me to share with you guys. I promised y'all that I would do this. I went ahead and took some of your questions. I couldn't take all of them. I asked y'all to submit questions and y'all submitted. Do you hear me? But the reason why this came about is because I did a post over here on my community page here on YouTube and also Instagram. Basically, I told you guys that a lot of times around this time of year, a lot of people, especially in the winter, go into what we call seasonal affective disorder. You feel levels of depression that are really much higher than you feel in other times of the year. I think it has a lot to do with things like the holidays, and if you're feeling lonely, or even if you're around a lot of people but you still feel lonely, or just the dread of the hustle and the bustle, the coldness, you're not able to get outside, your vitamin D levels are different. A lot of people do have difficulties with seasonal affective disorder, but then you also have people that continue on with being depressed year round. So I want to thank you guys for responding so quickly and in droves. Like, some of y'all send me emails with stories and I couldn't read all of them. I tried to find questions that would fit in with a lot of what you guys were asking me to talk about. I'm a licensed clinical and school psychologist in the states of Louisiana and Texas. I'm an associate and tenured professor within a doctoral program. I am a clinic director. Even though I'm going to be giving you some guidance, this is not to replace you developing a relationship with a licensed mental health professional. So let me know down below if you want to see more Q&As in the future. Get into this Q&A, but while I have you,
make sure you thumbs up this video if you like it, comment, share, and subscribe to this channel and also my vlog channel. Make sure that you come back on all Thursdays and some Sundays for video uploads, and also be sure to turn on that notification bell so you know when I upload.
If you're looking for some free resources, make sure that you sign up for my free 8-day supernatural video course, which really gives you some good head start and some skills and things that you can use in order to help make life just a little bit easier. It's absolutely free. Videos will be sent to you for 8 days after you sign up. So I think that could be a big helpful resource for you guys. Yoli wanted to say, she said, thank you for checking in. It means a lot. I agree with what you're saying. I've been so sad lately. I've reached out to family only to be told that I have no need to feel the way that I do. Look to Christ. I get so distracted with writing my feelings down. I'm just leaving from getting brows done. Today is self-care day for me. Question: how do I deal with the inner child issues? I know that a lot of times we all struggle with things that have happened to us in the past. I think a lot of times we have to be realistic with ourselves and find out what those things are. I think I speak a lot about my past with you guys because there's a lot from my own past I've had to sort through to get to where I am now. And that's a part of what therapy does. Therapy helps us to look at the things that might have unconsciously bothered us about our upbringings, about experiences we've had that really affect us now. And so how do you get to a place where you can deal with those issues? You have to confront them and you have to be real with yourself about what your issues are. I know me, you know, I can be sensitive. I'm very hard on myself. And so when critical feedback comes back, sometimes I'm even harder than the feedback. I read deeply into things, and I've realized where that's come from childhood, where I was always trying to figure out what adults meant when they wanted me to do certain things or they wanted me to perform a certain way. And I think I always internalized that as not being good enough. And I think that happens to a lot of people, but you have to sort through that. See what the motivations behind your behaviors are now, so you can stop any of those negative things that are happening to you. And that also causes a creeping up of anxiety and depression when you don't face things that are actually bothering you. And a lot of us like to avoid that stuff. We like to smoke it away, drink it away. And I'm not saying that's what you've done. I'm just saying that's what some people like to do. And I think that also comes in with the look to Christ. Now, here's the thing. Now, y'all know I was raised Pentecostal, Church of God in Christ, baby. I don't play with Jesus, okay? I benefited a lot from my upbringing, but I will say this. Whenever I discuss different types of denominations within Christianity, sometimes I find that people want to pray away mental illness. Now, that's not what our Bible says, right? So the Bible talks about how God, and I can't remember the exact verse, but I've gone back to this verse several times, so I'm paraphrasing, hear me out. That God blesses the hands of those trained to do the things that they should do. Now, I don't believe that that means that you pray away the evil spirit of mental illness. I think that that means you pray over the hands of those meant to treat that mental illness. You go to them, whether there's therapy with medications, if those are prescribed, having a good environment. You pray over those around you. You pray over your situation, yes, but you have to be active. You have to be active in figuring out what your difficulty is and helping to solve that. God also can't continue to bless you if you're not putting in the footwork. It's a lot of other factors in there. And so faith without works is dead. You have to make sure that you're putting in the footwork in order for those things to be worked out. I sometimes think that our religion plays into that, and we stop listening to the things that we know might be best for us. We just pray and don't try to seek help. And I think the best thing to do is to first kind of trace your steps. How did you get here? If you're struggling with your inner child, why is that happening? What happened to you in your childhood that you're not facing? And if you don't know, if you have some type of relationship with your family, ask questions. Ask about how you used to be, or find out the motivations behind your behavior. And I think that helps you to solve a lot of the issues you might have in the present. So I hope that helps. So Victoria G said, "Hi, Dr. Nina, I have a question. Is it possible to get free therapy or counseling, or for a lower cost? I really feel as if I have seasonal depression and have had bad anxiety in the past, and I know I need help." I have placed 2 links down below for you guys. Now, a lot of people ask me about some of the options out there. When you don't have much money or you don't have health insurance, there are still options for you. Now, there's one that I know for sure, and they do list it on the top 5 ways to do this. One of the things that you can do is call your local university. A lot of universities offer discounted counseling and therapy prices. There's a lot of counseling programs where there are counselors teaching up and coming counselors how to counsel. So that is a way to get free or reduced therapy. I know at my university, it's like $5 a session or something like that, $5 or $10 a session. And you can come as much as you would like. That is with a training clinician. You have this training clinician who works in conjunction with the more seasoned. They're getting a lot of experience, so they're able to help you, and it's at a cheaper cost and price. So you might want to start by calling any universities that are close to you. That can include community colleges, regional universities, state universities, anything, because they have so many resources and they're just looking to get people through the door so that they can get more experience. So that's one way to do it. In this very article, they also say to make sure you've checked your insurance if you do have it, because you might say you have crappy insurance, but make sure you check it for all the type of therapy you can receive or the types of opportunities that are out there. Don't get so caught up in what other people are saying. You have some people that do sliding scale fees, even if you have minimal insurance. There's all kinds of opportunities out there. There's also employee assistance programs. And so these programs really help with finding different things that employees qualify for just because they work for an agency. So that might be that you get like 5 sessions of therapy for free before you have to pay a deductible or before you have to pay a copay. Check your community resources, check places like your local social services or human services, things that are out there where people again are training or where they're trying to get people through the door or where there's even studies going on. There might be opportunities for you to receive some levels of treatment while being monitored by those who are qualified in the area. And also check out online services. And what I did was I placed a link down below to a lot of online therapeutic places that you can try out. BetterHelp is one online service. There's Regain, My Therapist, Talkspace, which I know I've heard a lot about. And then there's Breakthrough. Maybe you can go to therapy once a month instead of going once a week. You know, you reduced your cost significantly. So maybe you want to check out those things so you have access to something. So I placed that link down below to all of those. The next question was by Kia. Hi, Dr. Nina. My question is how to stay stable when you have mental illness and how to stick to a schedule and get healthy. Thank you so much for all that you do. Thank you too. I think one of the biggest mistakes we make is taking a label and letting that label make us. So if you find out you have depression, if you find out you have some other form of mental illness, sometimes we start to act more depressed or we start to act within the boundaries of that mental illness or what we've heard to be true about it, as opposed to how we're actually feeling and functioning. I know plenty of bipolar people who walk around every day, take care of themselves. Some of them are medicated, some are not, but all of them usually go to therapy. They're engaging in self-care, they're exercising, they're also making sure that they keep a daily ritualized schedule. They're writing things out, they're journaling. They're also making sure they're keeping track of their calendars so that they know what they have to do, what they have coming up, when they need to pay their bills. They also have changed their climate. So I talk about this a lot, guys. You have to make sure you make your space more positive. And some of you all have said to me, well, what if I have, you know, toxic people around? They're still small spaces, right? So even if your workspace is more healthy, or if your space at home, you have like a little corner or a little area that you like to go to that's more positive, that's filled with positive words, positive energy, positive thoughts, maybe even finding a friend that you can talk to often, and of course seeking therapy and seeking, you know, the help of a psychiatrist should you need medications. If you do have mental illness, just don't fall victim to automatically becoming whatever that mental illness is. Let that label guide you in knowing what kind of difficulties you might experience, as opposed to letting it guide how you behave or how you are. Sometimes I think finding out we have something automatically changes our lives, but guess what? Before you found out you had it, you had it. And so you had struggles, you had difficulties, you had a lot of things going on, but you managed to get there. But now you're armed with knowledge of knowing what's going on, and you can really work with it differently because you kind of know what to expect. You know what's available to you, and you know why your behaviors might be a certain way, and you can keep them in check when they start to act up. So I hope that helps, because some people sent in some career type questions that are related to our mental health as well. This question came from Instagram, BeautifulBrwnBabyDol. Hi, Dr. Nina. First of all, I'm so inspired by you and everything you've accomplished thus far. My question is, how do you stay encouraged and motivated and patient when the dream seems so far away? I struggle so much with being patient through the process. I have career-related dreams that I'm waiting on, and they just seem to be further away than what I want. Some days I want to give up and just continue what I'm doing, but my heart knows I can do so much more. Sorry for the long message. I know you only asked for a question, not a story. That's okay, honey. Thank you for sending in your question. I think I kind of talked about this last week, so if you haven't checked out the videos, the 10 things that I did to get my life together and the 9 mindset habits that have really changed my life, make sure you watch those because those really apply to this. But quickly, what I'm going to say is that you cannot give up on your dream. Align yourself correctly. Continue to work hard. I think sometimes we think about the time we've put in and what we haven't gotten. And sometimes you're one step away from getting what you want. And you have to keep showing yourself approved. And I know that sounds hard, but I've been there too, where I'm like, why isn't this happening? Why didn't this happen like this? And I did this like this. This should be happening. But that's just not how life works. And so one thing I would urge all of us to do differently is to start redefining what our dream is. What is our goal? What is our success? Also breaking that down into steps so we feel more accomplished. So a lot of times we talk about the big goal, but we're not talking about the little mile markers that come before that big goal. Now I've learned that you have to cherish the moments before that big goal. Okay, I'm gonna give y'all an example. I drink a gallon of water a day. I want that gallon gone first thing in the morning, but it ain't gonna happen like that. I have to drink it in chopped up portions. I have to make sure that I'm celebrating even those small victories, not just that big gallon of water. If I don't keep myself motivated with the small victories, I'm not going to continue to the big one. And the big one might be too overwhelming to even conceive in your mind. You might be thinking, oh my God, that's just way too big for me. But those little small goals that lead to it are not way too big for you. You can accomplish them. And what happens is you're building self-esteem and self-worth along the way, so you become stronger with each little goal met. The next one is, thank you for that, Dr. Nina. Question, how do you deal when you've lost a lot at once, like a job, apartment, self-love, etc.? And I think the name is Malika, that you have to learn from that failure. I think a lot of times the way we grow is by examining what the failure was. If we did lose something, what part did we play in that? What can we do differently to make it better the next time that we attempt that? So if you lose something, it's not always a loss. It's sometimes just moving things out of the way so that you can prepare for the new or for what's to come. Maybe it was time for you to step outside your comfort zone with any one of those things. And maybe those things weren't meant for you. I like to often think of life in that way. Maybe not everything I have is for me. And maybe sometimes it has to be not taken away from me, but removed from my life in order for those new things to come. And so I think instead of thinking of it as a loss, thinking of it as a moving of things out of the way so that you're able to take on new things will definitely help the situation. I think you also have to be easy on yourself. Sometimes life deals us really hard cards and you're still standing. I think now is the time to figure out how you can rebuild. How did you get all those things in the beginning? Now it's time to look at that, not recreate that. Learn from how you did that and learn how to make it more effective this next time. Take some of those same steps and implement new steps in order for you to be more accomplished, to get the things you want and to win the things you need. I know it's hard right now, but pushing through the depression of loss often makes you stronger on the other side. Examining that loss, seeing it for what it is, strengthening the skills that led to that. And that's not putting blame. That's just saying that sometimes there are things that we've done in the mix that we can do differently the next time that will help us. That just means we're examining ourselves and becoming more self-aware, and we're giving ourselves more of a chance to grow. I had another good one related to career. Now this is from Shanima. She said, Dr. Nina, my question is, how do you stay positive and avoid depression when you have the degrees of choice and still can't find happiness in your professional life, especially when you're not a millennial and starting over? We try to seek full happiness in what it is we do instead of figuring out what it is we love and how that complements what we do. I went through a period in life where I didn't know if even the professorate was for me, and I was a little bit annoyed with systems and doing different things. And what I had to learn was it was my outlook. It was the way I was looking at it, and it was the way that I was doing it. I was trying to do everything by the book, which was not making me happy. I had to start to learn to put my own spin and twist on it and remember my original goal and my original plan and why I was there. That helps you remember why this was important to you in the first place. What were you trying to get from the deal? Well, maybe you can find another lateral move or a place where you can move to that gives you the chance to be more creative in your writing. I think what I had to do was redefine what I was becoming, because I was becoming something that wasn't making me happy. And I think from that I learned that it was because of the constraints I was putting on myself. I wasn't allowing myself to be creative. I wasn't allowing myself to grow. And it was at a time where I wasn't even posting to YouTube anymore. So that made me unhappy. So I had to start to do things outside of that job that helped me to realize why I had achieved the things I had and how that would apply in the rest of my life. I had to redefine who I was in this position, not who I am am as a person, because I think we define too much with what we do as opposed to who we are. And I think you have to start to look at that and look at your strengths, your weaknesses, and what's happening to you and why you're feeling so unhappy. And a lot of times that addresses the things that are fueling our depression. So Sherry Wood said, "Hello, Dr. Nina. I found myself really emotional, flat out crying when I realized that I could no longer go back to the way I used to be and who I was to others. I realized I was in mourning. After kind of processing with my friends, I felt much better and realized I don't want to go back there. How do you keep moving forward when you can't physically move your location? And how do you introduce the new to your old relationships that you want to keep? Real good people, yet I'm changing." Sherry, good question. And I think a lot of people struggle with, as you're growing, sometimes you feel like the people around you are not. And that's not always a bad thing. I don't know if you all remember, but I'm always talking about the butterfly. A butterfly was once a caterpillar, but once a caterpillar becomes a butterfly, it's hard to still hang around the caterpillars. It's not impossible. You're just in different stages and phases. And that doesn't mean one is better than the other. Both have their ups and downs. But I think sometimes we try to force things and try to say, well, this is good for me, when sometimes the season is just up. And it doesn't mean that those are bad people. It might mean that eventually they do catch on to what's going on with you, and then they can support you a little bit better. Does that mean you totally kick them out of your life? No. That just means that you realize where they are in comparison to where you are, and you also have some empathy about that. You might not be able to hang out with them as much and continue to explain yourself, because that's not healthy for you. But what you can do is make sure that you set boundaries. Be kind to yourself, be kind to others, while also being very firm in who you are becoming. You have to protect that. It's a treasure. I went through it when I lost a lot of weight, because when I lost weight, I also lost mental weight. So I changed, and it wasn't a negative change, but instantly people judged me based on that change. So even if I didn't think I was all that, people were going to say that. You know, because to them, if you looked a certain way, or if you changed the way you looked, now you must think that you're all this and that. And that was not the case. But what I had to learn is people will be people. I had to have empathy. I had to have a kind spirit. And as long as I was kind to them and kind to myself, but also protecting who I was becoming, then I felt a lot better. I felt like I was standing up for myself, but I didn't have to be mean, nasty, or rude to anybody else. That's something I think will definitely help this situation, is remembering the caterpillar to butterfly, and know that it's not impossible for you to hang with people, but sometimes it's going to take a little while longer for them to get to the stage where you are, where you both can be at that same place and be able to receive and give to one another equally. So I got one from Calla Lane, and it says, "I've recently broken up with this guy. Well, he went ghost on me. Do you have any suggestions about ways to move on from people that leave all of a sudden? It's just I've been really down and moods everywhere, and it's affecting me in my school." Let me offer you some words of wisdom, shall I? When people ghost you, it usually has very little to do with you. Very little. And I think what happens is we automatically want to put the blame on ourselves because that person left us. And usually it has nothing to do with you. It could have to do with some situation that was unfinished. It could have to do with them just not being the greatest of communicators or the greatest of person. It could also have to do with the fact that they removed themselves from your life, which was probably a blessing in disguise. I don't like to be the one to speak in cliches. I've remembered something that was said: rejection is often God's protection. And sometimes what we do is we internalize that rejection to think it has everything to do with us. When honestly, when I think people ghost, there's a lot going on with them. And maybe they felt like they couldn't give you what you needed, but didn't really want to explain that, or didn't have the maturity level to explain that. With or without any of that, you are also, because I think people think they need closure in these situations. You don't. I think a lot of times we just need to remember that to this person, I didn't mean enough in this situation to tell me what's going on. And maybe I don't even want to know what's going on. You have to reassure yourself that you're amazing. You're great. This person engaged with you for the time that they did for whatever reason. but it had to be some reason of them being attracted to you or having certain feelings towards you or about you, and it lasted while it lasted. But at this time, it's time for you to repair and heal and not think about them. Because I think we like to think about the woulda, coulda, shouldas, the what ifs, and what happened, what did I do, should I have said this or said that. Believe me, whatever you're playing back in your head, I should have said this, I should have said that, you could have said all of it, and it probably would have still come out to the same situation. The reason why I'm focusing on you internalizing it is because ghosting usually has very little to do with the other person. Many of us have ghosted somebody. I've had friends that used to joke and call me the ghost queen. A lot of times that had nothing to do with anybody else. It has everything to do with you, maybe where you are mentally, what's happening in your life. Maybe you don't want to face that person. Maybe you haven't learned how to communicate well. And those are things that you have to remember so that you don't internalize why this person ghosted. Might not be anything you did, nothing. And it also means that there's nothing you could have done any better or any worse. It probably would have had the same outcome. So now let's focus on healing ourselves, feeling better, praying, meditating, taking care of self, keeping ourselves fly and together, okay? So that we don't automatically start to think that there was something wrong with me. Maybe there's just something wrong or something going on with that person that you don't want to know about. So I have one from La Morena Jimenez. I've struggled with my confidence since childhood. As an adult, it's affecting my relationships. I'm seeing this wonderful man and I don't feel worthy of him, but on paper, I know I'm the bomb. Work relationships as well. Although I don't want to blame anyone for my lack of confidence, I truly feel my parents dropped the ball in this area. My dad was abusive to my mother. She in turn suffered mentally and physically. All she could do was get by and do the best she could as a broken woman. So how do I nurture this in myself? Can I build confidence in my own? Thank you in advance. I think one of the biggest things I'm going to say there is that you have to, again, start to work on yourself. Let me ask you a question. You're mentioning not feeling worthy. Do you think that's something you need to work on your own before joining in a relationship with someone else? Sometimes we feel like we have to work through issues while we're with someone when maybe we need to be by ourselves. And I'm not saying be by yourself forever, but maybe continue to date this person while working on those issues, perhaps seeking therapy, seeking some different mental strategies. I would say also becoming your own validator, because sometimes when we start to date in this type of state where we've gone through and seen people be in abusive relationships that have affected and harmed us and have affected our self-esteem and our self-image, I think what ends up happening is we inadvertently start to put that all off on ourselves, and then we don't heal. And then we can't really be good to anyone. We can't even be good to ourselves. And so what I don't want to happen is that you start to explain away your emotions and feelings due to what has happened to you in the past. Sometimes we have to deal through and work through that. And that's okay. It's okay. But you also have to be your own validator. So I went through a phase where I was looking for in dating relationships for people to make me feel whole. And for people to make me feel like a queen or to feel great. And then I had to realize, do you make yourself feel great? Like, do you make yourself feel whole? Do you make yourself feel amazing? And no. I mean, that wasn't really what I was doing. And I had to start engaging in behaviors, hence the weight loss, hence the self-care stuff, hence all of that. Because I had to start behaving in the ways that I wanted others to see how I treat myself first. So I could also see that I could depend on myself first, that I didn't have to go outside myself for validation, that I was going to give so much to me that a person would have to either match that or exceed that for me to feel that they were worthy of my time. And that's also vice versa. It also taught me how to treat other people, because I don't think I always knew how to treat other people. Yeah, I was nice. I was very kind. I also was generous. But I think it was also because I just didn't know what else to do in relationships. I wasn't assertive about me. So I wasn't requesting behaviors that were acceptable. So people ran over me and sometimes didn't treat me well. Also didn't talk well to me and didn't respect me. Well, I wasn't always showing those efforts for myself. Start to really think about this. Am I ready for a relationship, or do I need to focus on a relationship with myself? Am I ready to take on having someone to see me naked? And when I say naked, you know, beyond all the accomplishments, all the great things I know you have going on, congratulations, by the way, but those are not the things that fully define you. Those are only parts of you. And so what you're trying to do is make sure you fill in the blanks with things that you know you've provided. And what I mean is that you need to tell yourself you're beautiful. You need to tell yourself enough that you're enough. And sometimes you got to tell yourself so much until you believe it. We know that there's a law of attraction. We know that there's things out there that teach us about the power that our minds have. I was my biggest promoter. Yes, I am. I love myself. I think I'm great. If I don't think so, then who else is gonna think so? If that wasn't a false sense of self-esteem, that was true confidence. I believe in myself, and that's not at the expense of other people. I want you to think you the bomb too, right? We can all think we the bomb because then we all get along better. We're always talking about relationships with other people and how we can make it better for them. Make it better for you, honey. Figure out what's gonna help you in your mind know that you're enough so that you're not depending on anybody else to tell you you're enough. Give back to you and don't feel bad about it. And I know that those abusive relationships taught you some negative things that sometimes are irreversible, but you make a vow to yourself that you're gonna make this different. Because let's say you do get with this person, you get married, maybe you have children, whatever. You don't wanna pass on those negative traits. You wanna make sure you've developed new coping styles, new coping skills, better ways to do life, to pass down, not those same things that have haunted you for a lot of your life. And so I know you can do this. I know you can do this because you're a smart woman. We see that here. So I want you to start to think in terms of those things. Next, we got Boss Chick. All right, Boss Chick, I see you. Hi, Dr. Nina, I have a question. How do I become more confident and always maintain that motivation to improve myself? You, again, have to become your biggest promoter, your biggest cheerleader. I know it's not always popular, according to people, to really be into yourself. But I think a lot of times we're looking and seeking for validation in the wrong places. I would much rather think that I'm amazing than to be looking for some crummy person to tell me I'm amazing who probably doesn't even think that much of themselves. Don't think I haven't been through the same predicament. We have to seek to want to improve ourselves. Now, the motivation has to come through setting small goals that you achieve that make you more likely to move on to the next part of that goal. So you almost have to train yourself. We get motivated to go to work because we get a paycheck. Okay, if that paycheck stopped every 2 weeks and it just started being all random and stuff, or if it stopped coming all together, would you still be motivated to go to work? Probably not. Set small goals that keep you going, that keep you motivated. I think, again, we scare ourselves out of the things we want. And I often use weight loss as an example because I think it's just a universal example. Not that everybody needs to lose weight, but everybody needs to lose weight in some way. Whether it's your friendships, whether it's your relationship, your job, whatever, we all can lose a little weight. A lot of times we'll tell ourselves, I'm gonna lose 150 pounds. The next day, that sounds overwhelming. So guess what? You don't even go to the gym. You don't even try to eat right because you like 150 pounds is way too far. I can't do it. But you know what's a chunkable way to make yourself stay motivated to change? Is to say, I'm gonna lose 5 pounds. I'm going to start to slowly make changes. I'm going to work out at least 2 days a week for now while I start to build up my stamina. I'm going to eat a little bit differently. I'm going to do a little research on the foods that I like that are healthy. 5 pounds sounds a lot more digestible than 150. And it's going to keep you more motivated. So no matter what goal you have, taking it, breaking it down, making it smaller and more digestible makes it easier for you to reach it. It makes it easier for you to have something to look forward to stay motivated. If I just say 150, it sounded good yesterday, but today, no, it ain't sounded too good. So now you have to think about things in terms of chunking them into digestible parts. No matter what goal you have, no matter what it is, the motivation will maintain through you achieving small things and then extending. So once you lose that 5 pounds or whatever that goal is, you can say, okay, next time I'm gonna check in at 10, because you've made all these small goals and you've made it easy for you to achieve them, building confidence and self-esteem along the way. So I have one here that's about someone else. So it says, hello, my mom is often depressed, but when I talk to her about it, she refuses to speak on it. If I suggest she speak to someone professionally, she shuts down as well. 70% of the time she's good, but the other times she goes into sudden depression. Not sure what I should do next. I don't want to press her too hard because she avoids me when I do that. Any suggestions? Sometimes what I think we find out is that we're functional depressives, and especially I want to say women of color and a lot of times Black women. I mean, the research even shows it. Now, and I don't know your race and background. I'm just giving you all some background on that. But one thing that I would say is don't be too pushy. As long as you don't feel that this person is a danger to themselves or others, just lend an ear. You don't have to be pushy about it, because I think a lot of times naturally when we love people, we want to fix the issue. And with depression, we have to realize that that's a process. It takes time. And sometimes people have to confront a lot of the things that are keeping that depression going on their own. And then we have to sometimes be there as listening ears. People who listen, don't judge, and allow them to have the freedom to work through their issues. So like I said, as long as they're not a danger to themselves or others, because depression is something that people live with daily. And as long as you're keeping an eye on them and they are seeking some type of help. A lot of times with depression, what happens is getting back into the mode of doing things the way we've always done them helps us. If you get back on the schedule you used to be on, if something happens, it helps you. So that's just like when you're grieving someone passing away. Yes, you have time for grieving. Grieving is natural and it's normal. But after about 6 months, you should be starting to come out of that and feeling better and living life the way that it was, even without that person. But the more you do more of what you normally did, you start to feel more normal. That's what often happens with depression, is we start to fall out of our schedules and what we want to do. So maybe just encouraging her to do things that you knew she used to enjoy. Taking her for a walk in the park, getting her some sunlight, doing some things that really help with that, or volunteering to go to therapy with her. Volunteering in those situations, and I think sometimes that helps to normalize issues. It also helps people not to feel alienated and to feel like people have their back. So hopefully that helps. So I had 2 other questions that came in through email. So how do you eliminate self-sabotage when it comes to self-care and getting your work done? I've been struggling with making time for self-care, and I have also been struggling with having the motivation to work on my own personal projects at home after working a full-time job, because I feel like I can't do it. Anyways, I feel down and disappointed in myself, and this leads to self-doubt and depression. It stops me from doing what's best for me, my mental health, and my physical health too. And that is Naomi Ruth. She sent me so many sweet comments. Thank you, Naomi. I enjoy that. Sometimes doing something doesn't have to take so much thought. You just have to do it. A lot of times we do a lot of preparing ourselves to do something, and when I get home I gotta do this. That only causes anxiety, a little bit of depressive feelings. Like, it starts to become aversive. You don't even want to do it. It's annoying. It makes you upset. But the more I tell myself to be positive about things, the better they become. So now I know I'm about to hire an editor to do things on YouTube. But there was one point where I just got so tired of editing, I stopped posting to YouTube. But what I had to tell myself is, I do enjoy this. I enjoy giving back to people. I might not enjoy editing as much. It does sometimes get on my nerves. But I've started to get good at it. I've built a craft. I'm able to teach people things. And so I had to start to look at the good in it so that I would be more likely to go do it even when I was tired. Make sure that you're creating, again, those small goals. You're rewarding yourself. And then also, this will make you more likely to engage in the behaviors you want to engage in. Also, make it easier for yourself. Create a schedule. Watch those videos that I've posted the last 2 weeks, those 9 mindset habits, those 10 things I did to get my life together. You have to schedule your time. And sometimes when we're busy, we have to schedule almost every hour that we're awake. That's okay. You'll get used to it. It sounds annoying. It sounds like something you shouldn't have to do, but when you're busy, you gotta do it. I think another thing is, stop thinking of everything you do for yourself as a chore. If you started to make it as something that's just good for you to do, then you'll see it as less of something that's getting in the way. I know in the mornings I had to train myself to get up and work out. Even if I didn't have to go to the gym, I had my gym shoes right by the bed, my gym clothes over on my little bed couch, so that when I woke up I was reminded of my purpose. So you have to do little tricks of the trade like that for yourself that get you out there, that get you motivated, that get you to do the things that you want to do, that get you to stick to things. Also, having people that keep you accountable and are honest with you. I think sometimes we stay away from people when we're trying to do things, but there's at least one person you might be able to depend on. Even during my weight loss, I didn't tell everybody everything. However, I had some key people that I could tell anything to, that I knew wouldn't be discouraging, but they would also keep it real with me. And also stop being so doggone hard on yourself. You can't do everything. Take small little things and celebrate them. You'll be more likely to build on the skills that you have to do the things you want to do. Now, this next one, I'm not going to reveal the name. She gave me a very nice and lengthy letter. And I'm not going to read all of it, but I am going to read this part. And I'm going to give y'all a little background. She's with someone and they are not treating her well. And she's really kind of losing herself and feeling like she's begging for this person. In reading this letter, I felt for her. But what she said is, yes, I still love him with all my heart and soul and somewhat want to deal with the disrespect so I won't have to be alone and have him. I know that this is not healthy, but I continue to want him. My father actually got upset with me for crying so much over this. And he just told me point blank, let that go. Okay, let that Negro go. You're a beautiful woman. You work hard, have your own house, several cars, and you don't need him in your life in order to live. I know letting him go completely would take so much stress, anxiety, and depression away, but I love this man. Help me to learn to let go. I need someone that is not family to give me some guidance. I've looked for therapists in my area, but cannot afford them. If you have any advice, anything would do. Thanks. And I read that absolutely wrong at the end, but it's late at night, y'all. And I'm so sorry you're going through this. And I think many people, especially women, find themselves in these positions. You have to start being a little selfish. If someone is taking you on the up and down, it's been a negative ride, it's not been good for you and your health, and you know that, you've admitted to having some anxiety, depression, and all of that, then you have to first learn to love yourself more and totally rid yourself of it. The faster you get yourself away from something, the faster healing can start. And you'd be amazed at how much better you feel over time. Now, what happens is we get to that 2 week, 3 week, 1 month mark and we're like, well, I still feel bad. Well, that's normal. If you've been with somebody for a long time, it's pretty normal to still feel bad. But you can't break in those situations. You have to think about who's more important. If you stop moving, if you get overcome with anxiety, depression, and the works, then nothing moves, okay? And so you have to be a little bit selfish about your self-care and your self-love. Now, as far as the therapy, I've talked about that earlier in the video. So make sure you check out those links for some of the reduced cost options and how to find options. However, you're probably, this sounds easier said than done, going to have to block all ways for there to be communication other than what has to be, and also to hold yourself accountable with that. If that means you put them on the do not disturb list on your phone, do it. If that means you need to be elsewhere when you know this person is going to try to contact you, do it. If that means if during arguments or if this person tries to pull you into arguments when you see them, just don't fight. You have to start little ways that are going to build to you realizing that this is bigger than this situation. Like, you have to be well. I think you have to provide yourself with the time to be alone and to not want just to be with someone. You should want to be with someone that's going to treat you well. And furthermore, some of us have to learn how to be by ourselves. It's okay to not be with somebody for a while. I've had to do it. Believe me, because when you start to depend that much on someone else, it becomes so unhealthy because you forget about yourself. And you can't get that lost in other people that you forget about yourself, because then you lose everything, including that person. So I urge you to start to look at the options that are out there, because I think the therapy would be great and very beneficial for you. But I also think at this time, you're going to have to start the small steps in separation, separating yourself and holding yourself to it. Unless it's absolutely necessary to speak with this person, because I think you said maybe there are children involved. I think you're going to have to limit it to those times when those things are involved and not times outside of that. This up and down roller coaster, remember, you're also playing a hand in that. You have to review your own behavior, because you can't be responsible for their behavior, but you can be responsible for yours, and you can make changes now that have lasting effects. It's going to be hard. I'm not telling you it's going to be easy, but I'm telling you that it's worth it to give back to yourself, to make yourself feel better, to build yourself back up, to get some self-esteem and some self-confidence so you don't feel like you have to depend on somebody else. So I hope today's Q&A has been really enriching for you guys and that you learned a lot. Please be watching out on Instagram and also here on my community page on YouTube, where I will be posting more opportunities for you to work with me. I have the mentorships coming up. I have a couple other things coming up. So make sure that you're following those platforms so that you know and are the first to know when things are releasing. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Make sure that you comment, share this video, and also subscribe. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Beautiful Brown Baby Doll. Peace.
Thanks so much for all the love and support over on my new website. If you haven't already, go ahead and check it out and join me for new ways to interact with me, giveaways and prizes, weekly emails, as well as my free 8-day supernatural video course, which is free when you sign up.